I'll start with Rome Odunze out of Washington, 4 years there, 6'3". I mean, a huge guy, 214 receptions, 3,272 yards, 24 touchdowns. Obviously, catching them from Michael Penix, the quarterback at Washington. Andrew, a player that I've seen a few mocks and a few people's opinions that Malik Nabers and Rome Odunze are more closer than Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison. Would you agree on that, or do you have a different aspect? But the one thing I have heard that's been the constant is that Odunze is going to be a great success in the NFL.
Yeah, I think Odunze is a fantastic player. I'm really high on him. Spent a lot of time watching a lot of Washington this year, so really, really love him. I think in terms of evaluating the gap between them, I think there's a lot of teams that are actually set that have Nabers as their number one wide receiver on the board. I think, that's probably going to be outweighed by Harrison's number one on more people's. But so I think there's probably a gap then indicating that Odunze is a little bit further behind the top two. But he's a different type of receiver. This guy, he's a big guy. He's physical. He's vertical. He's a great route runner. And the thing I love about him, and Adam loves a stat on this about the wide receivers, that he catches 80% of his contested catches, and I think that is just a fantastic stat. And he did that last year. I think he struggled with it at the start of his career with them, and then just improved. And we like progression, and we like the fact that he can do that. So he's one of these guys that if you've got him on the field, he's going to run great routes. He's going to catch the ball. He's got great hands, and he's not bothered to get into a bit of a tussle and win that ball. So for me, I think that's just a different style. You can throw the ball down the field to him and know that he's going to catch it. Whereas Nabers, I think you want to get it into his hands early and let him do the rest. So it all depends on what you've already got on your team, of which one of the two that you prefer. I know for me, we've got a lot, the Giants, which is what we're talking about at that position. We've got a lot of quick guys that you want to get the ball in the hands. I think Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt, very quick. We haven't got someone like Rome Odunze on our team. We haven't got an alpha on our team like that. So I think situational wise, he'd be perfect for the New York Giants.
So if the stars align where it gets the Giants pick and Nabers and Odunze are on the board, though you believe Nabers to be the better wide receiver, would you prefer Odunze because he has the skill set that the Giants are lacking in?
Yeah, I think I've said this a few times across a lot of our mock draft shows. I do think he's the better prospect for us, despite the fact that Nabers might be the better talent. I think he might struggle to find a slot to play, and there'll be lots of people competing for the same area of the ball. So yeah, that's my reasoning behind that. Adam looks like he disagrees quite a lot, and he's all in on Nabers, I think.
I don't think there'll be a competition. I think all your others will just disappear because of him. I think he'll just take over everything. I personally feel like myself, I think Nabers is closer to Harrison than Odunze is to Nabers. I think that the thing with Nabers is that really it's very difficult to be able to stop him. I think that's the big thing when it comes to Nabers. Odunze, he does have a few things that makes you feel like, okay, yeah, he's very good. He's a great red zone target. He is a very good contested catches kind of guy. I do think that his sort of yards after the catch are not necessarily fantastic. I think they're okay, but I don't think they're amazing. He kind of reminds me of Chris Olave, like a big Chris Olave sort of thing. That's the one that I've always come out with. But yeah, I feel like I can understand specifically for the Giants why it would make sense. However, I think when you're kind of in that position, the hypothetical that you've just come up with, and you've got both guys, it kind of makes more sense to take the talent rather than what you think your team specifically needs. And I just feel like there are guys that are big-bodied guys you can get later on if you really wanted to. So it's like, I feel like the talent would be better to go with Nabers.
If we stick on that theory then, that Nabers gets to the Giants take Nabers instead of Odunze, where do you then see Odunze position to maybe go to?
I think personally that the Bears obviously make a lot of sense. Keenan Allen, it's basically a 1-year deal, so it does feel like the Bears. Yeah, basically. So it does feel like it's an obvious spot for them. If they didn't go down that route, then obviously someone like the Jets at 10 would make a lot of sense as well. It does feel like they need another offensive weapon, and there's a lot of people mocking Brock Bowers there now, but if Odunze was there, then that would make a lot of sense as well. Other than that, I kind of feel like, you know, the Chargers, if they traded back, sort of thing, would make a lot of sense as well. So it's them teams that are at the top really for him.
Because you could theorize that the Charge, say the Cards don't trade out, the Chargers could drop down to 11 with Minnesota. Minnesota go up and take JJ McCarthy. Let's just say it's a narrative that everyone's sort of believing in at the minute. If the Vikings are going to go and do that, getting to 11. I mean, it's a risk getting there, but the Bears could look in other areas. The Jets could look in other areas, I suppose. So yeah, it'd be a risk, but it's maybe